It's become daily ritual for my husband, who rarely expresses interest in our family, to disparage the time-saving meals that I've put a lot of effort into creating. An acquaintance told me one day that they had seen my spouse walking closely with a different woman, not me. One night, I pretended to clean so Johan wouldn't get suspicious, and then I snuck out to the car in the garage. When I confronted him, he said, "I come home tired from work every day, and you do whatever you want. And now you suspect me of cheating? What kind of wife are you? Do you have any proof?" I pulled down the driver's side sun visor and something surprising showed up in the dimly lit cabin. Tucked in there was a brown envelope that wasn't addressed. I chose to look inside because I had a strange feeling about it. There was a letter addressed to Johan, a divorce document, and a picture of an unidentified woman grinning broadly while holding a baby. I noticed that Johan's name was already completed on the divorce document, but it was not written in his handwriting. The letter was addressed to Johan and said, "It's a boy. Now we can get divorced." My heart froze at that instant. Ah, I see. It's already over. Well, if you want it to end that quickly, I'll make it quick, just as you wish. This betrayed both our daughter and me. I'm going to exact revenge on him, that much was decided. Irvin Susie is my name. In addition to being a mom to my 6-year-old daughter Rachel, I am a culinary YouTuber. Since I was a student, cooking has always been my specialty. A few years ago, I started a YouTube channel to share my recipes. Even with the hectic schedule of a housewife, I've shared a lot of quick and simple recipes as well as creative ways to employ store-bought prepared meals. Dedicatedly running the channel while juggling a family, it has grown in popularity over the years, and a large number of fans now adore me. This worked out quite well. I wonder how many people will be happy today because of this. I was prepared to record a new video today that showcased my cooking abilities to the fullest. But there was something bothering me behind the glamorous front facing the camera. As I peeled dishes, my expression grew dimmer. Johan's comments resounded, "I'll be late again today. You're always working so hard. Don't worry about home." But loneliness lurks beneath that smile. My spouse Johan works for a manufacturer of home appliances as a manager in charge of planning and development. He is devoted to his work, greatly trusted by his colleagues, and career-focused. He has been returning home late at night ever since taking on his managerial post a few years ago, and he seems to be busy even on holidays. These days, he consistently arrives home later and sometimes doesn't return at all. I wonder if he notices my forced smile. No, he couldn't possibly notice. Since we got married, Johan hasn't given much thought to family issues, so I've been left to handle domestic tasks and childcare by myself. I can't say that I'm unhappy, though. My daughter Rachel is the one who is asking worriedly, "Mom, when is Dad coming home?" Sure, I do have a beautiful daughter. She is always a source of strength for me. I give an uneasy "It seems like he'll be late again today." Sorry. Rachel's expression changes to one of grief very fast. It makes sense. Even at 6 years old, she is still incredibly clinging. She told me, just recently, that her friend had mentioned how their father had taken them to an amusement park. Are Johan and Rachel growing apart from one another? The sensation is intolerable. I give Rachel a head rub. Your husband works late, and you get to be free, huh? I don't care if you're a YouTuber or whatever, doing whatever you like, my mother-in-law Nassie surreptitiously observed, before storming in. My face gets tense. Once more, here we go. My mother-in-law has never stopped criticizing my way of life and holding me accountable for everything. I can hardly contain my relief from a heavy sigh. Living close by is my mother-in-law, who is another cause of my problems. She is now widowed and lives alone. Nasty has always looked down on my work as a YouTuber and has never shown any empathy for it. I get this complaint all the time, "So much for your time-saving recipes. They're just shortcuts, aren't they?" It stings more since I love cooking so much. However, in spite of her critiques, Nassie comes over to eat the meals I make because she wants to save down on food costs, even though she wasn't asked. My mother-in-law, who is in her 60s, treats Rachel coldly and stubbornly holds on to outdated ideas that a male child should carry on the family legacy. Basically, your marriage has never been right. You can't even produce a proper heir. What use are you? A girl will just end up marrying, and she won't be able to continue the family line. Yen got the short end of the stick by marrying someone like you, she says. She doesn't even find meaning in her granddaughter's innocent grin. I have to be strong. I'm a mother, after all. That's how I always get through it. I'm at my house. Greetings from again. Johann returned home at a late hour. Whenever my spouse returns home, he only makes fun of the recipes I've created that save time. Another lazy cooking video from a popular YouTuber, huh? Is this really worth eating? My spouse hurts my feelings every time we discuss cooking. His returning home has become an uncommon occurrence. I'll be going to my mother's place tomorrow. Tonight again, it seems my husband plans to stay over at his mother's house again. Well, it can't be helped. We only have a daughter, and you're going to make another one of your quick meals tomorrow, right? Can't be helped. Mom has been alone since Dad passed away. What if something happens to her? I'm not going because I want to. Don't you understand a son's duties? Even when he does return home, he generally downplays the time-saving recipes I put so much work into. I comprehend Johann's point of view. He's presumably attempting to replace my father-in-law, who passed away too soon, as an only son. On the other hand, he has begun visiting his mother's residence more frequently. Is caring for his mother so often truly required, or is there another reason? I couldn't resist giving the explanation more thought. I ran into someone when I was out shopping in the neighborhood one day. She's my mother-in-law's neighbor and gets along well with her. Oh, Mrs. Irvin, hello. Mrs. Abbott, lovely weather, isn't it? I had tea with your mother-in-law the other day. Oh, is that so? Actually, I shouldn't speak too loudly about this, but I saw your husband, Johann, walking with a woman the other day. What's that? Together, they entered your mother-in-law's home. Are you acquainted with her? It was strange to me because I didn't recognize her. Is that accurate? Someone you work with, perhaps, or someone involved in providing care. All right, I apologize, please pardon me. I ran out of there, doing my hardest to disguise my trembling voice and racing heart. Who is she? What is happening? My heart was racing, not sure what to believe as a mixture of dismay and dread swirled around each other. The agitation persisted even after I got back home. Rachel, noticing a change in me, asked me worriedly, Mom, what's wrong? Are you okay? I said, Oh, no, I'm fine, just a bit tired. Now, let's get you to bed early so you're not late for school tomorrow. I was at my breaking point. For myself, I wanted to know the truth. Seeing Rachel made me even more determined. For Rachel's sake, tomorrow I'll find out by asking my mother-in-law. After dropping Rachel off at school the following morning, I made my way to my mother-in-law's residence. My palms were sweaty and my heart was pounding. I inhaled deeply as I pulled up and got out of the car. I rang the doorbell with trembling in my hand. My mother-in-law gave me a perplexed look as she opened the door. I finally mentioned the sighting of my husband with an unidentified woman, though I lacked the guts to question openly, What brings you here so early? Mother-in-law, I'm sorry for the sudden visit. There's something I wanted to ask. My mother-in-law gave an unexpected remark. That actually. She stammered out before revealing the reality. Knowing that my husband was experiencing stress at work, my mother-in-law started to worry. She introduced my husband to Julia, a counselor who she knew through a friend. I think you understand, Susie, your husband is going through a lot. He has many worries you might not be aware of. He's a rising star at work, and this is a critical time for him. That's why it's best to leave these matters to professionals. I continued to be skeptical about their marriage. Rather than simply relying on my mother-in-law's word, I chose to speak with my husband face to face. I gave careful thought to what I should do next and what was ahead for our family on the drive home. It was obvious that I couldn't accomplish nothing at all. I had to find out the truth through a talk with my spouse and think about what was in store for our family. That was my last remaining option. When my husband got home the following evening, I brought up the topic to make sure everything was true. Someone from your mother's neighborhood mentioned they saw you walking with a woman who isn't me. They said she was introduced by your mother. What's all this about? You're talking about that? Yeah, that's right. I'm exhausted from work, and all you do is whatever you want. When I come home, all I see are your so-called time-saving meals, which are nothing but shortcuts. I've been consulting her about my frustrations with this lifestyle. She's a counselor, a specialist in her field. She understands the pressures of my job, and I've been seeing her for a while now. He acknowledged her presence without hesitation. Regret. He swiftly withdrew to his study after saying, "You, who just do whatever you like, wouldn't understand." I got a call from Rachel's tutoring school a few days later. The payment for this month's tuition could not be verified. They requested me to investigate as the money hadn't gone through when it was meant to be automatically deducted. Confused and nervous, I quickly reached for my card to check my account. There should be about $80,000 in that account. It doesn't make sense for the payment to fail. I was astounded by what I discovered when I looked at the bank account balance. What is this? All $80,000 that we had laboriously saved up was gone. This money, which we had collected for Rachel's schooling and our retirement during the years since our marriage, was quite significant. I gave Johan a call right away to ask what had happened. The tutoring school called, saying Rachel's tuition hasn't been paid. When I checked the bank balance, the $80,000 that was in here is gone. What happened? Did you use it for something? Yeah, I used it for counseling fees. Seeing a specialist is expensive, it can't be helped. I often had to ask the counselor to adjust her schedule for clinic closures or after my overtime. It's a hassle, so I couldn't just go empty-handed. I was dumbfounded by the way the cash was used. He said that brand-name presents, pricey dinners, and counseling costs were covered by the $80,000. I started to exclaim, "How could you? I can't believe this." He abruptly hung up the phone. "Blame it on whatever you want. It's all your fault." It was obvious that their relationship went beyond that of a client and counselor. I searched his car that night, determined to uncover proof of infidelity. To keep Johan from getting suspicious, I pretended to clean the car. Right, the car got all sandy when I took Rachel to the park last time. I'll clean it up. I stole over to the automobile in the garage after that. I looked over the dashboard, the back seat, the trunk, and the dimly lighted interior light. I casually lowered the sun visor on the driver's side. What's this? A brown envelope with no address was stashed away. I had this strange uneasy feeling. With hesitation, I peered inside. A divorce decree, a letter to Johan, and a picture of an unidentified woman grinning broadly while carrying a baby were all within. Jan's name was already filled out on the divorce petition, but it was not in his handwriting. The letter was written to Johan and said, "A boy is born. Now we can get divorced." My heart froze at that instant. Ah, so that's how it is. It was over long ago. If you wish to end it that quickly, I'll make it quick, just as you wish. This betrayed both my daughter and me. I decided on something. One day I'm going to pay him back. I didn't feel lonely when my husband said, "I'm going to my mother's place today, okay?" I assumed it was just another visit to his affair partner. This is the sole opportunity. Once I was certain that my husband had left, I gathered our things and Rachel and I departed from the house. I filed the divorce papers that were in the envelope not too long after. It won't end with this. I went on to do more. A suitable settlement was necessary. For property division allegations, I surreptitiously ordered a probe. I knew he was guilty, so there was no need to worry about not finding anything. The results quickly surfaced, disclosing the adultery. On the days Yen said he was visiting his mother. In reality, he was going out to eat with the woman in the picture. They had entered an apartment complex located 2 stations away and wouldn't leave until the next morning. I wasn't surprised, just as I had anticipated. I wanted a property divide and the recovery of the $80,000 he had spent through legal counsel. I got a call right away from Yen. "What the hell are you doing? How dare you act on your own? Don't mess with me. You were the one who betrayed us first. That money was for Rachel, your daughter. You're her parent after all. It's only fair. Don't think you can get away with this. I never wanted a daughter from the start. Just like you, always cooking, I was sick of it. I'm better off without you. If paying that petty cash cuts ties with you, I'll pay it all," Yen said in a desperate voice. He's honoring his promise to pay for the schools, childhood expenditures, and property distribution all at once. Later, the promised sum was transferred into my account. "Hey, I've paid the promised money. Are you satisfied now?" Yen wrote to me. "Julia, unlike some YouTuber like you, cooks lavish meals every day. Not those lazy ones. And Mom is happy, saying it's good that a competent wife came along. I'm relieved to be rid of you. I should have divorced you sooner. A divorce took a burden off my shoulder. My mother-in-law would no longer make crude comments, and I would stop worrying about Johan, who rarely returned home. Above all, Rachel would no longer have to endure suffering. Rachel and I lived a quiet life together after that. But 3 months later, I received a surprise summons to my former in-law's home from my ex-husband. And I noticed Julia carrying a baby in the comfortable living room. My mother-in-law and Johan both suddenly began to shout, "Hey, cut it out, will you? We've already cut ties, yet you're still harassing us. What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're saying. Don't play dumb. Ever since we divorced, every project I've worked on has fallen through. The home appliances I developed aren't selling at all. I've been demoted because of this responsibility. I've even been ordered to transfer to Alaska. When I asked my boss what was going on, he told me to ask you. What are you planning? Do you hate seeing people happy that much? You're trying to ruin us, aren't you? Stop making accusations. I know nothing about it. You can deny it all you want. I'll sue you for defamation. Get ready for a huge compensation claim. What are you talking about? Fine, do what you want," I dismissed it. Up until now, I had aggressively used and promoted Yan's planned and developed gadgets in my time-saving cooking films. The reason Johan's appliances sold well was the advertising effect of those videos. But following the divorce, I made the decision to stop using and advertising them since I saw no more use for them. Mrs. Irvin, we hope you'll agree to another tie-up with our product. I'm sorry, but I am no longer Mrs. Irvin. My husband cheated on me, and he even had a child with his mistress. We have divorced, so I will no longer be associated with your products. They remind me of my husband. So please refrain from contacting me in the future. Please don't say that. This would be a huge loss for our company. Could you possibly reconsider your decision? We'll do anything, they begged. After that, Johan was demoted by the corporation and removed from his position. In fact, the business had realized that my husband's incompetence had not led to the increase in sales, but rather my choice. When I told Johan the whole tale of my dealings with Yan's business, he was really discouraged. He was astonished and unable to think of a response. He was no longer as outspoken and self-assured as before. Oh yes, I heard something interesting lately. It was about Julia, right? She seems to be going to the department store's food hall every day. A friend of mine works there. Apparently, she's been buying up ready-made dishes. What's for dinner tonight? Which store's dish did you go for? I'm sure your mother-in-law is thrilled with those luxurious ready-made meals. What? What do you mean, Julia? Hold on a minute, Julia, explain yourself. Were you deceiving me? What I mean is, you said you'd spoil me, Johan, that you'd do anything for me. That's why I agreed to be with you, liar. Hey, Mom, it was you who said Susie was no good and we should go for Julia. You were all happy about Julia's meals, praising how delicious they were, coming over every night for a free meal because you're too cheap to spend on your own food. And now you're trying to act all innocent. It's not even homemade, it's all store-bought. It was an absolute disaster. I no longer desired any interaction with such vile individuals. I hastily left my former in-laws' residence after having such notion. I hope everyone has happiness. After a span of 5 years, the appliance company my ex-husband had worked for contacted me again with an offer of cooperation. My heart faltered. Perhaps I should just refuse. I was apprehensive about potentially having to deal with Johann once more. I was then informed that Mr. Irvin had left the company. It appears that he hasn't been in great health. Johann stayed with Julia, who never tried to cook. Together, they continued to consume only prepared or store-bought food without giving nutrition a second thought. They ate a lot of fat, sugar, and salty food, which resulted in stress building up and a chaotic way of living. Johann ended up gaining 66 pounds as a result, experiencing health issues, and losing his ability to work. Even though I knew Yen was no longer there, I chose to accept the partnership. Mom, what's for dinner? I'll help. Thank you, Rachel. How about a potato gratin, your favorite? Yay, Mom, tie my apron, please. You've gotten really good with a knife. Of course, I'm the daughter of a popular cooking.